real meaning for Americans like Maureen Murphy. Maureen will share her story with us about struggling for years to get insurance. We will not let Maureen down. We will not let Maureen and millions like her down. We will succeed. We will succeed. Maureen Murphy.
Thank you all very much for inviting me to speak on this very exciting event. My name is Maureen Murphy, and I live just over the bridge in Alexandria, Virginia. And just a heads up, I haven't done public speaking since 10th grade, and there were never photographers, and I was not wearing reading glasses at the time. So if you can give me, work with me. I know as well as anyone how truly momentous this day is. I know this because of one really awful day in my own life when everything changed quite literally in an instant. It was 2010, and I was working and going to graduate school, both nearly full-time, and I have to admit it had been a hard few years overall. You see, my father had died after a tough battle with stomach cancer, and my mother was diagnosed with very aggressive cancer 6 weeks after my father died. So in many ways, I was still getting back up on my feet. At the time, the recession was in full swing, and contract work in my field had all but dried up, which meant dropping my health insurance for just a little while, just until I could kind of get caught up. And I have to admit, that originally was my plan. But one night during an exercise class, I noticed something was really wrong. I had lifted a barbell, and I knew something had happened. I couldn't grip the barbell with my left hand, and I just didn't feel well. But I went home and I went to bed, and the next morning when I got up, I could clearly see that the left side of my face was drooping, I was limping, and I couldn't move my left hand correctly at all. I went to the emergency room and I told the doctor I was scared that something was really wrong. And I also told him I was really scared because I did not have health insurance. He sent me home without an MRI and with a diagnosis, incorrect as it turns out, of Bell's palsy, which is a benign condition that would probably clear up by itself. I have to admit, at the time I was relieved, but I was really badly shaken. And I went home and immediately reapplied for health insurance. And I have to tell you, with one hand trying to type, that did not work. And I was just focused I felt like I had a near miss. So I just had to really get the health insurance. But 3 weeks later, I found out that I didn't have Bell's palsy. I had had a stroke. I found that out after getting disoriented on my way to an appointment in an area that I had lived in for most of my life. The stroke, it turned out, was caused by a very rare autoimmune blood condition, and I would keep having strokes until the condition was dealt with. On the same day, I also learned that I had been rejected for health insurance. When I had gone home and reapplied, I got a letter saying, no, we don't want to cover you. A couple weeks after that, I received even more bad news in the mail. It was a $25,000 invoice from the hospital where the stroke was confirmed and where I was treated in the intensive care unit for 2 days. Part of the reason the insurance company gave, first for raising her rates and then the complete denial, was because I had gone for bereavement counseling after the death of my parents. Combined with the Bell's palsy misdiagnosis, the insurance company said I was a bad risk and not a good choice for someone to cover. I have to admit, at the moment, I was desperately ill and entirely on my own. But then a friend who was tremendous found the healthcare.gov website, and I found a tool to help me, and that tool was the Affordable Care Act. In less than a month after applying, I was eligible and received insurance through the high-risk pool, and I can honestly tell all of you, it saved my life. Now with the insurance marketplace open, I am able to comparison shop and buy insurance that meets my very specific medical needs. A friend of mine asked recently if I was excited that there were more options for health insurance, and I had to tell him, no, I'm not excited. I'm absolutely relieved. This has been a nightmare that I don't think anyone can understand. But thanks to the Affordable Care Act, sorry. Shirts. It's okay. Okay. And I never cried in 10th grade in public speaking either. I was pretty good with that also. So thanks to the Affordable Care Act, I was able to find a doctor who specialized in my condition and who prescribed a blood thinner that I now inject twice a day. And also thanks to the Affordable Care Act, I will be able to keep seeing that doctor, and I will need this medication for the rest of my life. Thanks to the Affordable Care Act, I'll be able to get it. Without this medication, I would continue to have small strokes that would destroy my body, my senses, my memory, and I certainly would not be able to work. And I have worked my whole life, and I am very proud of my self-sufficiency and my strength. Sorry.
You're doing great. You're doing just great. Don't you worry. It's great.
I am not I am not and have never been what some politicians in this country so flippantly call a taker. To those politicians, I can only say, it's over. The Affordable Care Act is here. And it's staying. That's the most important part. And I and millions of other Americans will finally have health care they can afford, and it is about time.